Hey All-Stars, Claire Karwowski from Wowski Media here. Welcome back to our kids' sports podcast, In the Game. Today we're talking to slalom canoeer Mallory Franklin. Mallory is not only a silver medalist from the Tokyo Olympics, but she is also a world and European champion. Mallory will also be competing in this coming Summer Olympics and she'll be representing the UK.
Hi.
Well, Mallory, we're pumped to be talking to you today, especially because canoeing and kayaking are such new sports to the Olympics. And so, as we always start on In the Game with our first segment called Sports 101. So, could you please explain to us slalom, canoeing, and kayaking? What should we be looking out for when we are watching you compete at the Summer Games?
Yeah, for sure. So canoe slalom is quite an exciting sport. I mean, I'm probably a little bit biased, but so basically you go down white water, so just tumbling water, and there is a set of gates that are hung from lines above the river in certain pattern that you basically have to try and get through as quick as you can without touching any or missing any. There's green gates that you go downstream through, so with the flow of the water, and then red gates that you have to come back up through. And that configuration of gates can be whatever they want it to be. And so I do C1. I will be doing C1, which is canoeing in Paris, which I'm kneeling in my boat and I have a single-ended paddle. And then there's also kayaking, which is sat with your feet out in front of you and you have a double-ended paddle. And basically, yeah, it's just, well, I find it fun. You bounce down some white water, try and get around some poles. And yeah, it's a really exciting sport. And then for Paris, we have a kind of side discipline that's been added called kayak cross, which is slightly different. It's in plastic boats rather than the carbon boats that we do slalom in. So plastic boats, you go off a ramp to start. So you like fly into the water.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, then you have to get around big inflatable poles. But same idea, you go down through the red ones and up. Down through the green ones, sorry, and up through the red ones. I'll get that right when I get there, don't worry. And then, yeah, and so you do one on your own, and then the main event is 4 people going down the course at the same time, and all fighting out to try and get to the finish first. So yeah, that's new for Paris, and it's a really exciting sport, and yeah, people tend to really like it. I'm very much a slalom enthusiast more, but I've been paddling since I was 5, so I'm pretty biased towards which one I prefer.
Oh, that's amazing. I watched a lot of slalom videos like in prep for our call. And as someone that has never watched competitive canoeing or kayaking, the only thing in my mind I could kind of compare it to was watching skiing.
Mm-hmm.
And both that and it sounds like with the kayak cross too of skiing cross where you're just flying and trying to make it around the obstacles. But obviously you are in very fast water in a boat. So of course, it's very, very different.
Yeah, I mean, it has the same name as ski slalom, and it's very much the same thing. They just go down snow and we go down water. But yeah, same idea. You just got to weave in and out of the gates. They can hit theirs. We can't. Well, yeah, but you get a time penalty for doing it. But yeah, it's a really interesting sport, and we have a purpose-built track for it, a canoe course that's over by Disneyland in Paris. So we get to maybe go to Disney a little bit. But yeah, they purpose-built it, and you can change also how the water is. There's blocks under the river, so they can move them and change how the water flows. So it's really, really fun, actually, and every river's different, and every course is different, so it's exciting.
Will you get to practice on that specific course beforehand?
So we get to practice on the water, which will stay the same throughout the race, as the same as water does. It changes every second anyway, but all the blocks will stay the same. But the course that's hung above that we have to negotiate changes, and we don't get to practice that. So they set that the night before racing, and you can watch like demo runners go down and do the course, but you don't yourself get to try it until it's your race run. And wow. So we have a qualification course that we do 2 runs on, and then you have your semi-final and final course, so that changes as well. Sometimes they leave things the same, but it can be completely different at the games. And yeah, so you rely a lot on your knowledge of the water and whether or not you've done similar moves before and all of that. So it's quite an interesting sport because There is so many elements to it. It's a very physical sport, but there's a massive technical element of knowing the water and getting used to that kind of stuff, but also the mental side of not having done it before, and the water's different every time and everything that comes with that. So yeah, I think it's a really exciting sport.
It sounds really exciting. So this brings us into our next segment, which is stack of cues. For those that are listening and not watching, we have our trusty stack of questions that we'll be asking Mallory. You already mentioned that you started canoeing at the age of 5. So, what drew you to the sport?
It was complete fluke that I fell into the sport, to be honest. I we just went to our local leisure centre in Windsor, where I grew up, just trying to find a sport for me and my two brothers to do, just entertain us. And there wasn't really anything interesting that the leisure centre provided. But right next door was our local canoe club, and it was like a lovely summer's day in Britain, which does happen occasionally. Nice amount of sun. And they had all the boats out and they had a barbecue going, and it was just to come and try it and just go play on the water. And yeah, I was 5, my older brother was 8, and my little brother was 3. So my little brother didn't really take to it very much. But me and my older brother just absolutely loved it. Just got on the river, had a play. Personally, I just loved the freedom of having control of my own space, and I've always been a bit of a water baby, and really enjoyed being around the water, and it was just fun. And I literally never looked back. I went back pretty much every week, progressed into paddling multiple times a week, and then, yeah, I made the team and so on, and you get to where I am now.
It's incredible. Our next question is, what is something that you loved about your sport when you were a kid that you still love and look forward to today?
I think for sure the just feeling of being on the water. Um, I think it's anyone that's been on water in a boat or in any type of boat or even just swimming, the freedom that you feel being kind of suspended in this world. Like, I can't even really explain it, but it gets so much more fun when you get on the white water. And there's just this whole element of it's literally just a playground, and you can just go and experience everything, and how you approach things or the edges you use, all of that kind of stuff like affects what happens. And I think for me, I've always been really drawn into how much it changes and how fun trying to unpick that entire like idea is, and trying to work out how to do things consistently and everything like that. And I think even for me now, it's the thing that I enjoy. I just enjoy going and having fun on the water and trying to understand how water works, and how everything that goes with it, which is pretty much impossible, but maybe that's why it keeps drawing me back.
I love that so much. I was also a water baby growing up, and so I could definitely relate to that feeling of freedom in the water. Um, Now, I know that you are alone in your canoe when you were racing, but you've already mentioned being part of a team, especially when you're a kid. So, what is that team dynamic like when you're paddling?
Um, is I guess there's multiple elements of being in a team for us. Yeah, our actual delivery and our performance is solo. I am alone in my boat, in every discipline that I compete in. But around me specifically, I have a coach, a physio, an S&C, a psychologist, like that team that exists around me that is basically just designed to try and make me be able to canoe better, which is really cool. And I think one of the things that I massively value from having been involved in sport is the amount that all of that support around me has helped me develop as a person and massively shifted how I see the world, and how I want to be when I'm out in the world. So that part's really cool. And then you have the team that is our GB team that races and trains together. And that's a bit of a strange one as well, because in each discipline I compete in, there's 3 spots. So within the team, there's a handful of people that I compete with directly, that are in the same events as me. But then you have the boys that don't compete against me. So there's kind of this mix of people. We're all one team, but there's people I compete against and people that I don't have any direct competitive relationship with. So you kind of really have friends in that area almost. And I think it's a really nice environment to be around, and having kind of both the supportive and the competitive element together, I think actually really creates space for some amazing growth across everyone, and that real like learning and pushing everyone forwards.
Absolutely. So, Our next question is going to be, was there ever a day in the beginning where you thought that you might quit, and what helped you keep going?
There's been many days, many days, where I've thought I might quit. Um, I think that when you do anything, and specifically sport, when you spend your life trying to achieve it, it can take up a lot of mental load, and it can be quite disappointing at times. And I think you can put your heart into trying to be the absolute best at something, and then it doesn't pay off, and it's hard to keep getting up and keep coming back. And yeah, so there's definitely been many times and injuries that have pushed me down that line. But I think for me, I always kind of I try and take that step back and realize how much the sport has given me and how much it's helped me develop as a person, and how different I am now to when I started. And that's always pretty much always true. Like I continue to try and grow, but I can always look back and kind of see how far I've come. And for me, I'm not ready to be done with that yet. And that idea of being in a position, and I'm very fortunate to be in the position of being able to spend every day trying to improve myself, and both in my physicality, like my physical side, the technical side, the mental side, my life in general. Like I'm in a position, and a really fortunate one, to be able to keep spending every day doing that. And for me, every time I get those little struggles, I think about how much that if I can get through it and if I can learn from it, how much I'll grow and how much I'll be a more rounded person and a happier person afterwards. And that always just draws me back into that challenge. And I think that I've always been someone that's not really okay with quitting and giving up. And I think it's only in those really emotional times that I kind of reach that. And once I'm out of that bit, I'm like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to call it quits, and I'm not ready to not try and face this challenge and beat it. And at some point, I'm sure that I will have to quit, but it's definitely not anytime soon. And I think every time I get really sad, once I've settled and had a nice little cry about it, I usually want to come back fighting.
So that brings us to, what's something that brings you joy outside of your sport?
Um, I probably have two answers. Well, technically there's three, but we're going to classify into two. My husband, we grew up together, and I really enjoy being around him. But then my cats, 100%. I have two little cats,
What are their names?
Maverick and Monty. They are both female, though, just for that clarification. Yeah, they bring me a lot of joy, and they're really cuddly cats, and love belly rubs and love cuddles, and they're really nice cats generally.
Sounds like the perfect thing after a long day.
Yeah, for sure.
So, looking ahead at the Summer Olympics in Paris, I'm thinking already back to Tokyo, which was a really different experience. There were virtually no one there to
Mhm.
cheer you on because we were in the middle of the pandemic. What what was that experience like, and what are you looking forward to heading into these upcoming games?
Tokyo was a strange experience, but it was my first games, so I didn't really know what it should be like. And I've not really been within canoeing. We don't do any of the kind of multi-sport games. We don't ever really get to spend time in a village with other sports with other athletes. We very much do just canoeists. So to be able to be in the village and be part of Team GB and kind of have that unity and that kind of that sense of like being some part of something much bigger was really cool. And then yeah, there was no spectators. The Japanese were amazing though. They would come down with their little signs and wave everyone in the mornings, and it was just such a nice atmosphere. Yeah, I think for Paris, I mean, I'm most looking forward to the opening ceremony because I think it's going to be really cool going down the Seine on a boat.
Mhm.
But I think just getting to experience the Olympic Games in the kind of amazing, massive event and party that it is, and like just spectacle of sport, and being able to be part of that is probably what I'm most looking forward to, and getting to
Mhm.
kind of again be part of Team GB, but kind of get to experience that in the wider world as well. And obviously it's really close to London for me, so my family will be there, and
Amazing.
I've kind of done the experience in Olympics, but not really an Olympic Games in its like massiveness. And I think that's really exciting. It's kind of nice that I'm going in already with my medal. Like, I'd love to repeat that, but no one can take that away from me. So I really feel like I get to enjoy and experience every element of this games. And yeah, I'm really excited for seeing everything, and seeing even little things like the rings are currently on the Eiffel Tower, and I'm looking forward to going in a couple of weeks and going and seeing that, and everything that kind of comes with the games, because it's just an amazing event.
Totally. As just simply a spectator, I'm really looking forward to seeing how Paris just transforms. Everyone's at least seen like 5 of the iconic photos of the city, and just to see how, like, the skateboarding ramps in front of the Eiffel Tower, and I'm looking forward to seeing the course that they've built outside of Disney for you all. So before we head into our final question, do you have a song that makes every single pump up playlist?
Lion King. I just can't wait to be king.
Amazing.
Always. Whenever I'm in a sad mood, I'll put on musicals, but if that song comes on, I will turn it up full volume and sing so loud. But it can just bring me out of any mood.
I can picture you with your 2 cats singing, "I just can't wait to be king."
Basically, exactly that.
Wonderful. Okay, so Mallory, this is our final question. In the spirit of the name of our show, In the Game, what advice would you have for kids and non-kids who are maybe interested in trying out canoeing or kayaking for the first time?
I think just take the leap and try and see where you can go, and keep pushing yourself to kind of take that next scary step, and trust that you'll get through it, and you'll be stronger and happier afterwards. I would love for people to want to do canoeing, and I think that it is a really fun sport because it pulls on so many different elements. It's so technical and physical and mental, and I think that it's a really good all-rounder sport. And promote water safety and know how to deal with water, which is always good. But I think for me, just take the leap and just try sports, try everything, because I think that sport gives you access to learn so much about yourself, and how to deal with disappointment, and how to get through tough times. And yeah, okay, I'd 100% love people to do canoeing. A lot of, like, any clubs will take kids, and some of the clubs will go into schools and try and get kids. There's one of my friends who's now stopped canoeing, but did canoe quite recently. She started a company. She called it Slalom Inspires, and it's designed around trying to get primarily girls into sport and into canoeing. But a lot of clubs will do come and try it. If anyone's ever interested in going canoeing, it's 100% probably true in the States as well. I don't know exactly, but you can just research where canoe clubs are. And I've never known a canoe club not be like, yep, come get in a boat, you'll love it, go canoeing. Like, it's a very open sport, and it's so much based on fun and enjoyment. And a lot of people will drag people to try and get into boats, and if anyone ever asks, you'll be like, yep, 100%, here's a boat, here's a paddle, go enjoy, go canoeing.
That's amazing. I love the enthusiasm of just like wanting to share the sport with as many people as possible. That's always a good sign for a community. Mallory, thank you so much for chatting with us today. You are officially a member of the In the Game team, and we're just really grateful to hear your story today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, All Stars. Before we sign off today, I just wanted to stop and say thanks for being part of the In the Game team. We're so happy you're here. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast and give it a review. It helps all-stars like you from all over the world find our show. And to the adults listening, follow Wowski Media on Instagram and TikTok. There, we're sharing research, resources, and athlete updates to help inspire our kids to get in the game. See you next time.